Hello MotoGP fans, welcome back to ZNGP Today. After a dominant start to the 2025 MotoGP season, Marc Marquez is facing his first true moment of doubt. As the paddock shifts to Qatar, the 8-time world champion openly acknowledges that Lusail may be his biggest challenge yet, a circuit where history doesn't favor him and where his closest rivals, Alex and Pecco Bagnaia, have a stronger track record. In a dramatic and chaotic start at the America's GP in COTA, Ducati's Francesco Bagnaia has revealed that he would have been in a far better scenario penalty-wise compared to rivals Marc and Alex Marquez if the original race start had taken place. Speaking on Thursday in Qatar, Bagnaia explained how a specific rule nuance meant that his tyre choice saved him from incurring a ride-through penalty. Injured world champion Jorge Martin is set to complete his first laps on the RSGP since February at the Qatar Grand Prix practice, and he's shared candid thoughts on a controversial rule proposal. While Aprilia had pushed for an initiative to allow injured riders to conduct a private test before returning to racing, the idea was blocked by rival manufacturers. As the Qatar MotoGP approaches, Fabio Quartararo is calling for a change in tactics with Monster Yamaha. After a season where constant adjustments have hampered his performance, the Frenchman is set on sticking to a consistent bike setup at Lusail. His aim is to finally unlock the full potential of his Yamaha by finding a stable base configuration from first practice through to race day. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Speaking ahead of the Qatar Grand Prix, Marc Marquez didn't shy away from highlighting the difficulty of the upcoming weekend. He acknowledged that, theoretically, both Alex Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia have the upper hand at Lusail, making this the first round where he may not hold a pace advantage. It's the first circuit that theoretically Alex and Pecco are better than me, by the historic results. But let's see what I can do. If here I am competitive, it will be a very good sign for me. If not, I'll try to work to improve, Marquez said. Despite his crash from a 2.5-second lead in Austin, Marquez remains unfazed. Ducati course general manager Gigi Dall'Igna was seen telling the Spaniard to go home a bit pissed off but stay calm in a post-race debrief, and Marquez has since analyzed the error with clarity. This is racing. The good thing is that we crashed leading the race by 2.5 seconds and I was riding in a very good way. Yeah, I did a mistake but I know why. I slowed down too much on that turn 3 and then I jumped in too early on that turn 4. As the championship standings reset, with just 1 point separating him from new leader Alex Marquez, Marc is looking at Lusail as a fresh challenge. His last and only win at the venue came back in 2014. While his most recent podium was in 2019. Still, Marquez remains positive, emphasizing the strong form he carried into the mistake at COTA. But okay, it happened. The good thing is with that big mistake still we are second in the championship, just 1 point behind the leader. So, here it looks like everything restarts and let's see what we can do during the weekend. Both Alex Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia head into Qatar with momentum. Alex leads the standings, while Pecco is coming off a victorious bounce back at COTA. For Marc, Lusail is an opportunity to test himself not only against the track but also against two of the most informed riders in the paddock, one a teammate, the other a brother. For Marc Marquez, Qatar may be less about domination and more about adaptation. If he can conquer a circuit where he historically lags behind, it will send a serious message to the grid. If not, it may signal a tightening title fight, one where even Marquez must play catch-up. During the original start at COTA, the chaos was palpable. Marc Marquez dramatically ditched his wet bike, joining many others who dashed into the pit lane to switch to a dry setup. Most riders assumed this would only result in a back-of-the-grid start. However, under normal circumstances, leaving the grid early and changing tires would have meant serving a ride-through penalty. The revised procedure was implemented due to safety concerns, as guests and team members were caught between speeding bikes and the pit lane. From me, it was the best scenario to see either Marc or Alex going from the grid because I was the only one of us that if the rules were applied would not get a ride through, Bagnaia said. Bagnaia's explanation hinges on a technical detail in the rules regarding tire changes. For the sighting lap at COTA, he had used slick tires. When he later switched bikes on the grid, he opted for wet tires, but crucially, not different from what was used during the sighting lap. According to the rules, the penalty is imposed when there is a change in tire type compared to those used on the sighting lap. In Bagnaia's case, this asterisk in the regulations meant he would only have been demoted to a back of the grid start, rather than serving a ride-through penalty. I was already on the correct tires on the sighting lap, so I didn't have to do any ride-through in the race. In case the rules were applied, I was in a better scenario compared to them. The entire incident was further complicated by the chaos that ensued, leading race direction to halt the start with a red flag. Bagnaia backed this decision, noting that the track might not have been ready for slicks under normal circumstances. Ultimately, after the restart, Bagnaia capitalized on the opportunity, winning the race following Marc Marquez's crash from the lead, while Alex Marquez secured another second place to take over the championship lead. That was surely the best thing to do, also considering that the track maybe wasn't ready to go with the slick. But in a normal start situation, I was having the better scenario compared to them. With the unusual start procedure now prompting MotoGP to revisit the regulations with the teams, Bagnaia's technical insight offers a rare look behind the scenes of race day decision-making. His explanation not only highlights the complexities of managing tire strategies under chaotic conditions, but also underscores the fine margins that can decide outcomes in MotoGP. As the sport works to refine its rules for future events, Bagnaia's experience at COTA remains a compelling case study in both strategy and adaptability. After suffering hand and foot injuries that sidelined him since February 5th, Jorge Martin is preparing to take his first laps at Lusail during Friday's practice session. With his physical condition still uncertain, the reigning champion is taking a measured approach to his return, session by session. I will take it session by session, day by day. I don't know if I will even be able to finish the weekend, Martin said. In an effort to help injured riders ease back into competition, Aprilia had proposed a rule change that would allow riders out for extended periods to perform a private test before returning. However, the initiative failed to secure the unanimous support required within the MSMA, as rival manufacturers were reluctant to see a competitor benefit from such a provision. It was completely from the team, it wasn't my idea. But I understand why it didn't happen because it's normal. You don't let a rival do it at this time. Although mid-season rule changes are generally frowned upon, there appears to be a consensus among manufacturers to revisit the regulations for the 2026 season. Martin believes that if a rider is sidelined for 2 or 3 races, having the opportunity to test on a MotoGP bike during a race weekend would be a tremendous help in gauging their recovery. I think for the future it's a really good idea. If a rider is out injured for 2 or 3 races, they are discussing letting the rider try a MotoGP bike so he doesn't have to go to a race weekend just to try. He added that his uncertain physical condition makes such a rule especially pertinent, given the inherently unsafe environment of a full race weekend. Currently, any potential change would affect injured riders from Ducati, Aprilia, and KTM, as Honda and Yamaha are already exempt due to their deconcession status. For Martin, this rule discussion is more than academic. It highlights the need for a framework that supports riders returning from injury while ensuring competitive fairness on the grid. As Jorge Martin gears up for his return in Qatar, his measured approach and support for future testing rule changes underscore a critical balance between rider safety and on-track performance. With every session now crucial, Martin's cautious optimism sets the stage for a comeback that could influence not only his own recovery, but also the broader landscape of injury management in MotoGP. Quartararo has grown increasingly frustrated with the frequent setup changes made by his team over the first 3 rounds. Despite extensive data gathering, the continual modifications have left him without the clarity needed to truly feel his bike's limits. According to Speedweek.com, the Frenchman believes that over-adjusting is counterproductive and has prevented him from riding to his full potential. "We are trying to find grip, but we already changed the setup 20 times, so we will not find the performance by changing more." Quote from Quartararo. Determined to break the cycle, Quartararo now plans to maintain a single base configuration throughout the Qatar weekend. He emphasized that having a stable setup will allow him to focus on his riding rather than the constant tweaking of the bike. For him, the key to success lies in understanding and pushing the limits of a consistent setup over a sustained period. "I think it's good to have a base to adapt to, and then if we have something important that we think will really help, then we can try it back to back. But I don't want to try any more of the same things in different tracks. I want to focus on my riding because every time we change something, I never find the limit of my bike." Quartararo's experience at COTA serves as a cautionary tale. Although he impressed with a 6th-place finish in the sprint, making him the top non-Ducati finisher before a sighting lap accident and grid chaos relegated him to 10th in the Grand Prix, the inconsistent setup left him frustrated. The incident underscored the importance of a stable bike for him to achieve 100% performance. "So I don't want to touch the bike at this Grand Prix and have the same base from FP1 to the race. Of course, if we need to make normal adjustments, we'll do that. But I don't want to change too much." With Qatar being the most recent race won by a non-Ducati rider during his 2021 title season, Quartararo sees this weekend as a critical opportunity. He is determined to work with his team to lock in a setup that will finally allow him to find the bike's limit and push for better results. His focus is now solely on delivering a strong performance without the distraction of constant adjustments. "My feeling on the bike was good, and I think that keeping the same bike and working from my side to be at 100% of the bike and find the limit will be really important this weekend." As the Qatar MotoGP weekend unfolds, all eyes will be on Fabio Quartararo and his commitment to consistency. With a clear call for stability over constant tweaks, the Frenchman aims to translate his focused approach into a breakthrough performance. If he can finally dial in his setup, it may be the key to unlocking the full potential of the monster Yamaha and reclaiming his position at the front of the grid. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. See you next time.